This is Tabula Rasa reviewing another comic. We are grading off of these categories. If I like it, it gets a star. If I really like it, it gets a star plus. It's going to be out of 10, 5 being I will recommend it to other people, and anything above 5 means I really like it, and anything below 5, well, you get the idea. Today we're going to be looking at the DC Pride anthology for 2021. There are a lot of writers and a lot of artists. This came out June 8th. And yes, I do realize that I'm doing this review thing a lot later than when I did the Pride Month. I did that the day of. And yes, I know I've been behind on releasing the videos for the LGBT comic book representation. But why did I wait so long? Let's just say life happened. And also probably because I didn't really think that this comic anthology was all that great, especially when you compare it to the AAPI anthology that was released just a month ago from the time of this recording. So let's do the YouTube thing and break it down. Before that, like, subscribe, the YouTube thing, and let's get going. So usually when I do these reviews, I give a score based on the categories given, black and white, paneling, characters, theme, plot. And a star basically means that everything's there technically, right? And if I give it a plus, that means I really like that aspect of it. So when it has 5 stars, I recommend it because usually, technically, it has everything that a comic needs, right? And anything above that just tells you whether or not I like it or not. So this anthology, in terms of inking, colors, panel composition, and overall art, right? It gets a star. Nothing really stood out as terrible or bad on any standards besides any subjective standards of whether or not you liked it, right? The issue that I had in these stories were the plots and themes, and it's pretty apparent when you compare it to the Festival of Heroes anthology from the AAPI month. All right, so let's just break it down one comic at a time. The first one, The Wrong Side of the Looking Glass, writer James Tynion the fourth, art and colors by Trung Lee Nguyen, uh, Aditya Bidakar is the letterer, and Jessica Chen is the editor. Themes for this one: isolation, LGBT stuff, of course, self-worth, and that sort of thing. The plot is Batwoman finds her long-lost sister, and the sister beats up the Mad Hatter. Okay. Uh, Time in a Bottle. Writer is Steve Orlando. Artist is Stephen Byrne. Letterer Josh Reeds. Editor Christopher Conroy. And this one had John Constantine in it. The theme, I guess, kind of hard to say. Erasing history, I guess polygamy in some ways. I don't know, right? Of course, all the characters in there are gay or something on the spectrum. The plot is Midnighter and Extraño tells John Constantine about the time when they stopped a Nazi vampire from erasing the gay from history, or a gay from a character. I don't know. The action was kind of decent in this one, but it cuts out before it gets good. I don't know. Try the Girl by Vita Ayala, who is the writer. Art by Skylar Partridge. Colors by Jose Villarrubia. Letterers by Ariana Mar. Editor is Andrea Shi. Now this had the politics in it. It's kind of hard to say. This is kind of like a detective story, but not really so much on the detective part. Renee Montoya, The Question, sets out to save Valeria Johnson, who is running for city council, only to find out that Valeria Johnson saved herself at the end, and the two kiss. Oh, did I forget to mention spoiler alert? Nah, I don't care. Another word for your truck to move your furniture. This one's by Mariko Tamaki, or Mariko Tamaki. Art by Amy Reeder. Color by Marissa Luis. Letters by Ariana Mar. Editor is Andrea Shea. Relationship milestones, and I guess that's the theme for this one. Uh, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy beat up a monster plant while discussing their relationship. This one was visually fun, but kind of felt pointless as an superhero comic. I don't know, like the background action was just there for like a set dressing. They just wanted to focus on talking about. I don't know. Either way, I thought it felt a little flat. He's the light of my life. Story by Sam Johns, art and inks by Klaus Janson, colors by David McCaig, letterers by Tom Napolitano. Editor is Armedio Totoro. Theme is dad issues with LGBT and reconciliation. The plot is Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, the magic one, has a heart to heart with his son Obsidian, and it's about coming out. The difference in overall, it's a good flashback piece and probably the strongest in terms of themes and plots. I kind of wish all the other stories were a lot more like this one in terms of setting up themes and plots than what they were. Let's see. The Flash in clothes, makeup, gift. Writer is Danny Lore. Artist Lisa Sturl. Colors Enrica Angiolini. Letters Becca Carey. Editors Michael McAllister. Themes. I guess it's the everyday problems that comes with superhero life. The plot. The Flash is a bit late because the Flash fights a villain. That's basically what it is. So kind of like the Poison Ivy and Harley comic from earlier. Really kind of felt pointless. Be Gay, Do Crime. Writer by Sina Grace, art by Rose Stein and Ted Brandt, letterers by Aditya Bidikar, and editor Andrea Shea. The theme is gays are persecuted. And in this one, the Pied Piper stops and then teams up with Drummer Boy to stop someone from extorting the gays racket by extorting the extorter. This one was weird overall. Just saying. Date night. Writer Nicole Maines, artist Rachel Scott, colorist Enrica Aaron Angiolini. Letterer Steve Wands, editor Diego Lopez. Theme, I guess, is be yourself. Dreamer stops a plot to destroy the world from the League of Shadows just in time for date night with Brainiac. This one was confusing too. It just felt like you got placed right in the middle of an episode, and you're like, wait, what's happening? I don't know what's happening kind of vibe. And, another date night story. Love Life. Writer is Andrew Wheeler. Art by Luciano Vecchio. Or Luciano Vecchio. Uh, colors by Rex Locus. Letterers is Becca Carey. Editor is Michael McAllister. The theme of this story feels like, you're not alone, be proud. Aqualad and Syl participate in a gay pride parade that literally gets rained on by Eclipso, and then Syl brings all the LGBT heroes to beat up Eclipso because to show Oro Jackson, I guess, that he is not alone anymore. And I guess pride, because, it's a pride parade. The term ham-fisted comes to mind. Now, overall, this anthology series that celebrates LGBT should be made, right? After all, one cannot really deny the discrimination that the LGBT community, in terms of every aspect of human rights, of life, liberty, and happiness, have been denied for like the longest time. Um, but that being said, conveying that story, I don't know how well this anthology has done that. Now, I don't really care if you disagree with me, but this is what I see. In all these stories, it felt like, hey, we're LGBT, and isn't that great? Like, aren't it almost felt like DC was patting themselves on the back because they made this anthology. Now, because it's like, oh hey, we're great, aren't we inclusive? We're supportive, buy our books kind of stuff. But when you compare it with the AAPI anthology, where it was or was where it was the superheroes who happened to be Asian doing things as superheroes, on top of that with an accurate representation of Asian culture, it felt great. There are really great stories in there, especially the one with Cassandra Cain. My personal favorite was this 3-page one where she was on the bridge and they just share a meal together, right? Nothing too difficult, but it just had so much extra nuance, it felt like, in there. And, it was just 3 pages and the artwork is excellent. And yeah, it was just great. And this Pride one with the LGBT superheroes. They were superheroes, and I don't know if you exchange the stories from LGBT to like what angle is there because they're LGBT. Now one might say, they're normal, just like us. It's like, yes, that is true. They love people, they should get married and all that fun stuff. But given the history of LGBT within, the United States, to pick a place, their experiences has been different. There are certain aspects where you could literally exchange them with any minority or any character of any orientation and nothing would change, and that's a universality, and that's fine, right? But if your point is to highlight the LGBT community, I would imagine that the best way to do it is show the differences when it comes to that. The experiences that people have, like I said before, shows commonalities that everyone have. These are universal things in which themes of stories are centered around love, family, fighting for what you think is right, etc., that sort of thing, right? But because we know there are different cultures and individualities and whatnot, we know that there are things that are unique to people and a person's experience. And the LGBT have a uniqueness that should be shared. But if that uniqueness is we're just like everybody else, and you show a comic that's we're just like everybody else, kind of makes kind of a dull comic, especially if you want to highlight LGBT. You need a little bit more than, hey, this character is gay, aren't we great? I mean, because let's think about it, right? What issues are there for LGBT, right? What kind of discriminations are there now? What kind of discriminations were there in the past, right? How would that affect being a superhero, right? The best one I thought was the Alan Scott one because it shows like the difference in the past and what's happening now, right? And although the comic itself had a lot of exposition, to be honest, so it kind of made it for a boring read, but the thematics in there were really good. So if they focused a little bit more on that, then that would be great. Now, I am just simply armchair quarterbacking here. But let's be honest, there are a lot of real world issues that could serve as inspiration for the LGBT Center stories that this anthology tried. Right? Personal ones focusing on love, yeah, we can do that. And it has been done, right? But surely they can think of stuff more than just simple love stories. I mean, come on. In two of these stories were about date night, right? So, yeah. Is that all it is for LGBT? Is that all that needs to be told? I think there's a lot more there. I mean, they could easily make a good story inspired by the HIV/AIDS pandemic response that the United States has done. It has your fighting the man, fighting evil corporations, fighting the government because they were in on it, right? Or perhaps, like the Alan Scott one with Green Lantern, where a retired hero, you compare them because they stopped because of the discrimination they faced when they were outed. They come out of retirement and all of a sudden, hey, they're accepted, right? And overall, I believe, and this is just my opinion, take it or leave it, right? There was an overall lack of grounded stories. Yes, they're heroes. Yes, they're people. But what is their unique story to tell? I think that part was missing. Now, would I recommend this? It's really hard to say. It depends, really. If you are part of the LGBT community or an ally and you enjoy comic books, you'll probably enjoy this, right? But if you're looking for comic books simply for a great story, well, that's kind of hard to say. Overall, I personally found the stories to be weak in terms of thematic elements and just superficial. But that's just me. Take it or leave it. So this has been Tabula Rasa reviewing the DC Pride anthology. If you enjoy this sort of content, do hit that like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I hope you are having a good day or good evening. Ciao, everybody.